welcome. I'm Sarah Markey, Association Director for AFCOM, and I'm here today with Tom Costello. Tom is a network and systems technician at XR Trading in Chicago. He's also a data systems chief in the Marine Corps Reserve. Most recently, Tom joined AFCOM for our Leaders Lab in Chicago, where we brought together experts to take on critical issues facing the data center industry. Welcome, Tom.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great. So at the upcoming Data Center World Conference, Tom will present BAMCIS, applying U.S. Marine Corps tactical training concepts to colocation infrastructure projects. So we're here today with Tom to learn more about his presentation. Okay, are you ready, Tom?
Yes.
Okay, great. Question one. Why is your presentation relevant or important to data center managers and IT professionals?
Well, when I first started at XR Trading, I came from more of a traditional Cisco networking and Microsoft sysadmin world, and I didn't really have a whole lot of training on doing anything inside of a co-located data center, and I was assigned these tasks to further consolidate and move stuff around inside of the trading data centers. And I was a little bit frustrated at first because unlike the Cisco and Microsoft world, there was no there was no data center for dummies book out there where I could just, have a how-to for working with some of these co-locations and all the different vendors. So I ended up using some of the training that I've learned in the Marines, particularly BAMCIS, the 6 troop leading steps, and it actually worked out real good. And now as I've done many, many more colo migrations and optimizations inside of the data center since, I think it's something that definitely should get out there.
That's awesome. All right, question two. So what are 3 takeaways people will walk away with from your presentation?
Well, I think the biggest one is that BAMCIS acronym, which we'll talk about much more in the presentation, the last letter is S for supervise. And in the Marines, they say that supervision is the most important step for that whole procedure. And I think it really holds true inside the colos, especially if you're trying to get work done at a remote data center that you might never step foot into. Making sure that everything is supervised and done the way that you wanted to do it according to plan, it's a pretty big deal. The second one is something more from my triathlon playbook, so to speak, which is never do anything new on race day. A lot of times, if you're either going to a colocation yourself or if you're trying to do a migration remotely, especially over a migration weekend, there's a lot of stuff that's very tempting to do that you've never done before. And trying new things in production, not a good idea. As tempting as it is to try to do new things, and try, further to optimize your stuff, you really want to stay with what you know during the migrations to reduce risk. The third is kind of an old military saying that you train how you fight, fight how you train. The more that you're able to lab out anything that you want to try inside of the colocations, the closer you're able to get to being as similar as possible to what you're trying to build in those expensive co-located facilities. The more sweat that you have in training, it beats more blood in battle, or in this case, during a migration weekend.
That makes sense. All right, so you were a participant of our Leaders Lab on disaster planning and recovery. What are you most looking forward to at Data Center World as a Leaders Lab alum?
I think I'm really looking forward to seeing what the other Leaders Labs groups were able to produce. But for us in Chicago, I think we really had an unfair advantage with Bill Clayman. He does so many good webinars with data center knowledge, and having him in person to bring together all of these data center professionals to talk about DR, it was a really cool experience. So I'm really curious to see what the other groups with their topics have in mind, and looking forward to everyone checking out what we produce from Chicago.
That's great. All right, so the last question, probably the hardest. So living in Chicago, we can safely assume you're a deep dish pizza aficionado. As we head to San Antonio for this year, it's all about Tex-Mex or barbecue. So which is your preference?
Oh, I'm all about barbecue. I've actually already mapped out the various restaurants that I want to stop at. I haven't been in Texas for a couple years, but I'm definitely looking forward to indulging myself in multiple varieties of barbecue, that's for sure.
Yeah, same here. Well, good. That's all the questions we have for you. Thanks so much for your time, Tom. We're definitely looking forward to seeing everybody at Data Center World in San Antonio, March 12th through the 15th. And again, thanks so much for your time.
No problem. Thanks for having me. See everyone out in the San Antonio.
Perfect. Bye, Tom.